You're listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, as always, is...
Josh Schaefer, Esquire.
I don't know why that... Just the way you looked at me when you said that. We are talking today about Disney Plus, the streaming service that apparently is making Netflix quake in their boots. Although, I gotta be honest... Like, the part of that streaming service that actually works the best for me is the back catalog and not most of the new crap they're putting out.
Well, all the new crap, unfortunately, I get to watch because it's a lot of children's stuff.
Well, you see aspects of it that I didn't. Like, I got to avoid maybe seeing the new Mighty Ducks and...
Can't lie and say a couple episodes were watched. Love the original. Mm-hmm. The TV shows... Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all the other ones, like Fuller House and...
Yeah. It's just a revival.
Etc. Yeah. What is it? Girl Meets World was the other one?
That was one of them, which I'm sure is on Disney Plus because it was an ABC and Disney show. Should be on there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was.
But yeah, no, it's... Like, they have a lot of new stuff coming out, and in theory, that should make the streaming service interesting. Marvel shows and Disney shows, but I gotta be honest with you, I haven't been excited about a Star Wars or MCU show on there since the first season of The Mandalorian.
I liked Moon Knight a lot.
I couldn't get into it.
Really? I thought that was like right up your alley. Because it's a thriller.
It wasn't. It didn't thrill me.
Like
there were aspects of it that I thought interesting. Like when they started doing like the back and forth between his personalities and having them interact.
Yeah.
And weird shit. That was cool. But it, like, on the whole, the villain wasn't really there for me. The story didn't really have a ton of momentum. Oh, we're going to run around for this golden MacGuffin that just kind of does something.
And it did something when they found it.
It did, yeah.
What it was, I can't recall.
It helped resurrect the goddess who showed up for only one episode and then was immediately defeated.
But it was a giant kaiju mummy battle.
I know, which I liked. Could we not have had more focus building up to that?
I would have watched that for 6 seasons.
And a movie.
Yes, don't push it. But it was... I'm trying to think of what else is... I think all I use Disney Plus right now for is just watching The Simpsons on repeat as background noise.
I get that. Yeah, I mean, like, I liked the last season of Clone Wars that got put out on there, which was the...
That wasn't bad.
The story of Ahsoka, which was a better ending for the series than the 6th season that was on Netflix that was just trash.
Yeah. Skip it.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, was there anything else that I found interesting? Mostly I use it as a way to not have to go to the theater.
Yeah.
To watch the movies that are coming out.
Yeah, movies are different, though, because, I don't know, I don't really look at it as a movie platform, even though it's weird, I know.
I guess the way I look at it is, like, I'm paying $10 a month for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And if I was to go to the theater and there's always a Disney movie coming out.
Yeah.
I'd be paying $20 to $40, depending upon, like, if I got snacks or other things. So, $10 cheaper, I get to stay home. I get to see all the movies. I just have to wait 45 days.
And you can pause it.
And I can pause it and go take a bathroom break or whatever else. Like, Disney Plus as a platform is great if all you want to do is avoid the movie theater and not have to, like, go to AMC.
Yeah. And I will give it credit, too, that I really like its user interface.
Oh, it's good. It's
a lot better than Netflix.
Well, they took the lessons of Netflix and then customized it down a bit.
Yeah, because loyal viewers or listeners will know that I took a 2-year-ish hiatus from Marvel movies because I got burnt out on them. Mm-hmm. And it was super helpful to go to the Marvel movie selection and be like, watch in continuity or watch in theatrical release.
Yep.
So that helped immensely, so I didn't have to think about anything. And it put the series there, too. But,
so they're all together, which is nice. And I like, in concept, the series. Like, I thought Loki was interesting.
It's doing what Japan stuff does for me, where it's like the first few episodes are amazing, and then it's just like, meh.
Yeah, well, and it's either the first few episodes, or it's like an interesting start, and then it just kind of tapers for a little while until the last episode's really good.
Oh, so Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, Ms. Marvel was exactly like that. A lot of them like that. I really like what they're trying to do in concept.
Yeah.
But some of the stories they're telling would be better as movies. Some of the movies they're telling would be better as TV shows.
Eternals.
Yeah. And some of the things, maybe they just should have held off on it for Phase 5 because, like, it's too much.
Yeah.
Too much Star Wars, too much MCU, and it doesn't feel like anything's really getting any focus now.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I try to watch the Book of Boba Fett, and I love.
God, that was trash.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they did him dirty.
They did. Well, how far did you get into it?
An episode.
Okay.
Or 2 episodes.
Well, so I'm glad we can actually talk about this finally, because Book of Boba Fett had 3 different things going on in it, 2 of which were interesting, only one of which was Boba Fett. So the story of him with the Sand People could have been a show all on its own.
Yeah.
I would have watched a whole season or more of him being Sand People person and just wandering around Tatooine being awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that was fucking fantastic storytelling with very minimal dialogue because you couldn't understand the Sand People.
Yeah.
Like, it was really interesting. And then they killed the Sand People in an episode and a half, and you're sitting there going, what happened to the show I was watching?
I think that's about when I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. The best part is, 2 episodes later, they spent 2 episodes following on the Mandalorian in the middle of the Boba Fett show without Boba Fett being around at all.
Yeah, I heard that. It's like, I like the Mandalorian enough, but come on.
I just don't know what that was all about.
See, and that's what happens with me anyway, where it's like, I'm a casual Star Wars fan. Like, I like it enough. I don't hate it. Yeah. It's there. Mm-hmm. As we said about dogs earlier, we can be in the same universe. We're okay with each other, but
honestly, I kind of feel like dogs for me are like Sequest DSV. I know they exist, but I really don't want to watch them.
Yeah. So you don't like them a little bit more than me. We just piss off half the population, but
Does it mean Star Trek people are cat people? I'm very confused about this analogy.
Well, obviously, do you not remember the nurse in Upper Decks? Lower Decks.
Upper Decking is something else altogether.
Whoops.
But anyway, Star Wars.
But Star Wars doesn't really have, like, Marvel has some mess stuff. Like, Ms. Marvel was good, and then it was meh, and then it was good again.
Yeah.
But Star Wars always just seems like awesome.
Well, okay, so the big issue with Star Wars, which I know we've touched upon before, but it only seems to be getting worse, is they're really obsessed with one era of this galaxy that's existed for thousands of fucking years.
Yes, it's like, give me new... Like, Disney could have just... Like, the sequel trilogy, understand feeling the need to wrap that up so people can move on past that.
Yeah.
But the reason you do that is so people can move on past it. And you bombed it so bad that you're still stuck in the same era. And it's like... if I see another Kenobi, I'm going to crap my pants. I
mean, there were parts of that show that were great. Like, I didn't mind them, like, casting a young Leia.
No, that was fine.
Her adventures were cool. She was a very well-cast character.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like the story was essential in any way, shape, or form. No.
It seemed like, you know, when, like, back in the 90s and early aughts when they'd have that one episode, and I think they still do that, especially on, like, the WB.
Yeah.
But... Or CW now. I'm sorry. Where did WB? My allergies are crazy.
You know, back on UPN.
Back on UPN. But they'd have that one episode where it's like, let's see if we can have a spin-off of this and have completely new... introduce a whole bunch of new characters.
Yeah.
And then do nothing with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's just kind of what Disney movies or TV shows, starting to feel like. It's like, okay, well, Leia had a good reception, so let's give her own series next.
Well, and that is the thing, but like, if you look at where Star Wars was at, and the plans that they had, they launched that, High Republic books and comics. They're like, this is going to be a new era we get to explore, and then almost immediately, like, oh, by the way, this entire story is about Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
And the rise of, or whatever the guy that made Darth Sidious, his name, Darth Necris, or whatever.
Necronos.
Darth Double Dildo,
Nihilus?
whatever.
Darth Nihilus?
Tyrannus?
Tyrannus, yeah. Tyrannus.
There we go. That's the one. Darth Tyrannus. So the whole show is about, like, the whole era is kind of like the rise of Darth Tyrannus, who then leads to Darth Sidious, who then leads to Darth Tyrannus.
Stupid.
So you made a new era to not focus on the new era. Like, it just leads me to think that the only time they've actually done it right was when the studios weren't involved and they just, like, the game company just got to make the Old Republic.
Yeah, that game was so cool.
That was so cool. The sequel had some good stuff. I hear the MMO was pretty decent for what it was.
I played it for a while, yeah.
There was even some comic books from Dark Horse that tied in.
Those were super cool, too.
That was and it's not like any of them are out of continuity because they're so far removed from continuity, it doesn't even matter.
Well, and plus, I think Disney, when they took over, X'd all that stuff.
They X'd all of it, but the Old Republic is so far removed, and it doesn't look like they're ever gonna like go back to it.
Yeah,
that it doesn't matter if it's in continuity or not. It just is its own thing.
And that's when, like, my issue too with Star Wars, and I'm sure a lot of quote unquote diehard Star Wars fans, what are they called? Like, we're Trekkies. Are they Star Warsians?
I always just assume Jedi.
Yeah, there we go. The Jedi. The Jedi, whatever, people. Like, I feel like Disney's just pretty much was like, all right, well, you can stop liking what you used to like now. We got new shit. So.
Well, I mean, I think the problem with that is Star Wars was built with, like, an interconnected universe that almost never got rid of stuff. Aside from, like, Splinters of the Mind's Eye or something.
Yeah.
Everything that was published was approved and was in continuity. You couldn't do something without it being in continuity. Star Trek fans don't have that problem. Like, we pick up a novel and we're sitting there going, well, I know this isn't in continuity. Woo-ha! There was that whole run of Deep Space Nine Season 8 and Season 9 books. And I'm like, I didn't even bother buying them as much as I love Deep Space Nine, because I'm like, 5 years down the road, they're going to put out a movie that conflicts all of this, because none of it matters.
Yeah.
None of it. They launched, there was some, like, new captain with a new ship that was only in the books, had his own continuity. I'm sitting there going, this is never going to matter. They are not going to reference him once. So,
And then they did.
Did they?
I don't know.
I don't think they did.
They probably had him knowing Star Trek on the screen somewhere in the back. Or
I was shocked that they even made a reference to Admiral Archer in the new Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
Like, really? But, like, no, but
thanks to the 8 people who know who that is.
yeah, but if you're a Star Trek fan, you just accept that anything you read outside the movies and the shows is just not going to matter. That never ties in. They've done comic books that tied into the movies that literally aren't in continuity 2 days later.
Yeah.
So, like, who cares?
No
it
one.
doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. But Star Wars fans are built up on this thing of everything must be in continuity, and we must honor all of the continuity. So when Disney got rid of all of it, there were a ton of them that were pissed, and I was sitting there going, just welcome to Star Trek.
Makes sense why a lot of Star Wars fans seem to be very right-wing.
Oh.
Call it like I sees it.
But no, I like, Disney is not managing Star Wars well, but then I feel like they're not really managing any of their properties in their current era right now.
No, like, Marvel's very hot and cold. Yeah.
It's like everything feels hit or miss with even within its own thing. Like, I liked the new Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it was cool.
But it was uneven.
That's Sam Raimi, though. Like,
Well, I mean, the best parts were the very Sam Raimi parts where he just got to unleash and do his own thing.
Yeah.
Like, the story was not really there for that movie, but man, it was visually very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
like, they had nowhere else to go with the story. Like, they've been setting up Scarlet Witch to be a villain for a while. But it's still a not a gut punch, but just a...
Like, on the one hand, I do feel like if you watched WandaVision, it kind of makes sense, her heel turn. Like, kinda. But at the same time, it's also this thing of, it did feel a little fast.
Yes. Yeah, I think it would have been better as, like, a bigger movie.
Like, not calling it WandaVision, but a second season of WandaVision in there to help show her further downward turn, because she kind of pulled it back up at the end of the season, and then somehow the Darkhold is just supposed to make her evil. Like, we're missing an episode or two of story there to illustrate the Darkhold better.
Comic book tie-in or something.
Yeah. Like, and the weird thing is, unless you watched Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which spent a season on the Darkhold, you might not even know what that book is. And that show isn't even continuity anymore. Yeah. So it's very confusing.
I stopped Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was a mouthful for some reason.
I always call it S.H.I.E.L.D.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
When I reference on the website, yeah.
Like, I don't think I got that far in.
I had to power through the first season and a half.
Yeah, because I couldn't get through the first or second season.
Yeah, and then by third season, it really started to pick up. Okay. When no one was watching anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I mean, it got good, but no one was watching. So they could tell whatever stories they want, and it didn't matter. Yeah. But, like, it's Marvel, now that Thanos is gone, Marvel feels very confused, and you can see that in the shows on Disney Plus, because we're all over the place, scattershot, and I can't tell what the direction is of the universe right now.
Me neither. It has definitely post-crisis syndrome, where it's just like, what do we do now?
Yeah. Like maybe if we give the benefit of the doubt. So Figo, whatever his name is,
Vigo.
Kevin Feige. He masterminded the original movies and managed to bring all these characters together that didn't seem to have real continuity into the Avengers. So he did it once. Maybe he's trying to do that again, but it's weird to do, like, set up new hero stories, mostly on the TV, with sequels to movies we've already seen on the big screen.
Yep.
And then set it up to be what exactly? Most of the new characters they're setting up are like Young Avengers.
Yeah. Well, they have all. I think they've introduced all of the Young Avengers at this point.
All or almost all?
Except for Hulkling. I don't think that I've seen a Hulkling yet.
No, yeah, but like...
Because you have... Yeah. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, then this is my point. It's very confusing, and we have yet to see a villain emerge who would be good for the whole of the continuity yet.
Yeah, because Scarlet Witch was a mutant / magic
Scarlet
villain.
Witch would have been a fantastic villain, but they just killed her in Doctor Strange. Yeah. So...
Spoiler.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I have a feeling she'll be back. I don't know why, but...
Well, they didn't say it in the credits. They did not say Scarlet Witch will return. So, only Doctor Strange.
Only Doctor Strange. So
but, okay, so that's the other issue is with Marvel continuity the way it is, we could just get another Scarlet Witch from another universe. Like, I like the multiverse, but I hate what they're doing with it at this point.
We just need some mutants in there at this point. Let's bring the X's in.
And then the Y-Men. There you go, to go along with them. Yeah.
The XY-Men.
XY-Men.
Oh, I forgot the Y-Men.
Didn't they actually exist?
I think so.
I'm so sorry for reminding everyone about that. So.
I'm pretty sure they did. I'm looking it up now.
But anyway, I like Disney Plus as an app. I think it's provides an experience that's worth the $10. I don't feel like outside the movies, though, it really has managed to nail the TV content. At least not since the 2 seasons of Star Wars they put out that were actually worthwhile.
I agree with that. I'm trying to rack my brain for new content that I thought was super. I really liked Moon Knight, but I also really like Moon Knight, the comic book in Egypt stuff. So I'm biased.
Again, that one kind of felt scattershot all over the place.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But visually, I thought it was different, too.
I liked Hawkeye. But Hawkeye felt like a Netflix show that Disney produced.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little more kid-friendly, but otherwise, it was a very tight story. Mm-hmm. I almost wish that one had been a movie.
Me too.
It probably would have been better as a movie, because it would have been just a little more focused and shorter. So,
but I just don't understand the monetary aspect of making big-budget production like TV shows versus just a movie. Like,
I mean,
they're not going to lose subscribers at this point, so I don't really understand why put these multi-million-dollar TV shows on Disney Plus. And
well, there's a push to keep subscribers coming and staying and going, and if you don't put the content out regularly, you end up like Netflix.
Yeah.
And apparently everyone's stock who has a streaming service is now reliant upon the streaming service. So if your streaming service doesn't do well, you don't do well, which is weird because you're not wrong. Most of these streaming services are losing money.
Yeah.
They're doing these big budget things, and the money they're having coming from streaming people doesn't equal like the amount of money they're spending on projects. Now, some of them, like maybe in the case of Disney, because they have international markets and they can maybe put them out with commercials or something.
Otherwise, a lot of toy rights too.
Oh yeah, and they get to sell all the ancillary stuff and everything. Yeah. Netflix doesn't get to do that, but ancillary. The various ancillary products. But you got to think that it's got to be other markets than the U.S. streaming that's really making their money. Because on its face, you'd think they'd be losing money on everything they do.
Yeah.
So.
Because Stranger Things, I'm sure has a pretty big draw outside. I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
I don't really...
You don't see a lot of Stranger Things toys. Although, weirdly, I did see a 2-pack of Stranger Things and the TMNT, because that makes perfect sense.
I saw that too.
Why?
Yeah, I saw they had a Ghostbuster-ish kind of thing too.
The Ghostbusters one makes sense because they dress up and it's the right time period. The kids are still in like 1987, and they've never once talked about the TMNT. The cartoon is 2 years out.
Yeah. When did the first movie come out?
A year after that, 1990.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I know you know. I don't even know why I was like, question?
So, why the TMNT? I mean, we're way off topic from Disney Plus, but that really confused me.
Doesn't make any money.
But who's going to be like, yeah, what I really want is the Stranger Things characters with the TMNT? This is what I'm saying. Anyway, so, at least in the case of Ghostbusters, you get a Finn Wolfhard character with a Finn Wolfhard character in the same pack. Like,
that's true.
The Finn 2-pack.
With Tupac.
Just call me Two Fins.
Two Fins.
What's up, Two Fins? No, anyway. So, the streaming wars are odd, I think, is what we're coming down to.
Yeah. It feels like the Cola Wars, but crappier.
With a more uneven product.
Yeah. Because at least there's some addiction in soda. You get that caffeine and sugar. But now I just feel like it's a time waste.
Anyway. Kind of.
But I'll still keep doing it.
Speaking of time waste.
Thanks for listening.
No, Ms. Marvel. Because, I mean, it just finished, so we can discuss it. Mm-hmm. And I know we had a conversation about this before. But now that the show is over, I have to comment, it needed to be a movie.
Yeah. Well, it had a very strong first episode, and then it just
slowly tapered.
It was like a 9.5,
yeah.
And then a 9, and then an 8, and then 8, like a 7.8, and then just
once the villains were introduced as villains, the Jinn, and they weren't just these characters helping to inform her backstory, but were actually villains. The show fell right off because they were awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like, it seemed shoehorned in.
Yeah.
And I would have just rathered it be her trying to figure out her powers with no villains.
Yeah.
I would have been fine with that.
Her fault and trying to save people while battling against the Department of Damage Control.
Yeah.
That's enough of a story right there.
Yeah. It's just like, we need something supernatural.
We need something supernatural that, in the case of every goddamn superhero show, uses the same powers the hero does to fight the hero. Why is that a trope? Why do we get that over and over again?
Now that you mention that, I don't think I've ever noticed that. But that is really annoying.
Especially in like their origin story ones.
Yeah.
Every superhero has a villain that's almost exactly them, but evil.
Yeah.
And they have to battle them. Moon Knight, fucking Black Widow movie. Even though she'd had a bunch of movies, she has to fight other Black Widows.
Yeah, Ant-Man.
That
Ant-Man one kind of made sense though, but I'm also a huge Paul Rudd apologist. So.
Yeah, but I mean, but Yellow Jacket again is still the same guy, evil. Fucking Ironmonger and Iron Man. Hulk and the fucking Abomination.
Killmonger, Black Panther.
Yeah, you can look like just about every.
They literally had him in a Black Panther suit.
Yeah. Every single one of these, like, it seems like you have a hero, and so you have to have the villain be the mirror of the hero.
Yeah. I think as much as I hated the early Thor movies, Loki and Thor have different...
They did.
So
they were different. Spider-Man is different. The better movies you can point to have villains that in no way, shape, or form are the same as the hero. You get a more diverse and interesting thing. But Ms. Marvel suffers because the Jinn are just basically her but evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blah.
And even at the end, the person she has to fight and save is just a off-center version of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun, but it definitely could have did away with all of that.
All the Jinn stuff in the middle. The trip to Pakistan, as much as it helped to inform her, was a narrative diversion that really didn't add much.
Yeah. It was cool from like a cultural standpoint, but I just wanted to see her do her, you know?
I appreciate putting her in Pakistan. I think if they'd saved that for a second season where she just has adventures in Pakistan for a season, that would have been cool. Like a fish out of water for a while and learning the culture and showing it to us. Like all the aspects of showing us Pakistani culture from like in America to in the other country. Great. Loved that. We really needed more than a season to do all that because it was too fast and...
Not furious.
You say as you've never really watched those movies.
No.
So
I know what I'm talking about. Vin Diesel movie.
So, yeah, no, I liked it in concept, and there were episodes I liked, but it's like most of the MCU shows that have come out. I'm not going to go back and watch it again.
No, and that's, I think, the big issue with a lot of the Marvel stuff is I don't really have a desire to go back and watch any of them, except for the Spider-Mans I've watched multiple times because of my children's.
Well, and Spider-Man's awesome.
And
I'll
Spider-Man's-
watch all the Spider-Mans again. I could even see myself watching the second Doctor Strange again.
Yeah, I like the Doctor Stranges a lot too.
Well, especially the second one. The first one was just basically Iron Man, but with magic. But the second one had a different story.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. But, like, of the TV shows they've put out, the only one that I could see ever maybe going back and watching again is, as weird as it is to say, Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I liked Hawkeye. Even What If was uneven, but Hawkeye was good.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that because it's one of those things where it's like, now that I know how Moon Knight ends, for example, since I've been talking about that, I don't really need to go watch it again anytime soon.
Yeah.
Ms. Marvel, I feel the same way. Like, I might watch the first episode again because it was cool, but...
I could see watching Loki again if when they do a second season, the second season builds and like continues the story.
Yeah.
Right now, it feels like it's ended on like a denouement instead of an actual ending.
Yeah.
And I want something more out of it.
Yeah, it seems like a half season hiatus more than a season end.
Yeah.
But I'm like that with a lot of TV shows, I feel like though. Because I'm thinking about stuff I rewatch, and it's usually comedies, because comedies you catch something a second time usually, but there's not really...
Yeah. With Ms. Marvel, I don't know that I'd rewatch the season. But, and this is especially true for her show over a lot of the other ones that we've done, like, I don't even know if I'd care whether or not Moon Knight showed up again.
Yeah.
But the performance from the lead actress, whose name I'm not going to even try to pronounce properly, was magnetic.
Yeah.
Like, I want her to show up in everything going forward. She's fantastic.
She did. She killed it.
She absolutely killed it.
She killed it. Kilt.
So, like, her being introduced, even if her show's not worth watching again, I think having her around is fantastic.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think at least Marvel mostly gets consistently right is who they cast for these roles. For the most part. There are a couple where I'm just like, oh, what?
Generally. Now, if I will say with Moon Knight, well, I don't care whether or not he shows up. I actually kind of liked, what's her name? Scarlet Scarab or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah. She was cool.
Yeah, I would welcome her back into a show.
Yeah.
Like whatever she wants to just go to.
I feel like that's what it's geared up to do, because I read somewhere, and I know internet and whatnot, but Oscar Isaac isn't going to do another Moon Knight.
Well, he's not contracted to, so unless he gets the bug up his ass to do it, it's entirely on him.
Yeah.
So
I could see him just being like,
yeah. But she's not as big a star. She might be like, I'll take more Marvel money. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen her in anything else that I've watched.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah.
So,
but she was 10 out of 10. But I can see her, that'll be cool, her and Ms. Marvel teaming up, beating people up.
So, I want Marvel to figure out what they're doing. We have like 20 things coming out this phase without any direction about where we're going, except for the vague multiverse, which isn't enough on its own to direct anything.
Yeah.
But I want more and some direction so we know what's going on. Maybe it all comes together in like a big Young Avengers film, and suddenly I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm in it now, whatever. But like this phase feels very off kilter.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to blame everything on COVID, but I feel like after COVID hit, their whole timeline got messed up, and then
Well, it did. It's very packed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Inhumans were supposed to be a bigger part of whatever their plans were, but then they nixed it because it sucked.
Well, the show was bad, and it's like they're trying to hint at doing them again, but in a different way, and who knows?
But, and if you think about their quote-unquote big titles, like, they've already used all the heroes. Captain America's dead and gone. Well,
they'll have
gone.
new Captain America.
Yeah. But Iron Man, like...
They are going to do Iron Heart, so they could bring a version of it. Like, that, and that is the thing, is, like, how many... Like they have a ton of superheroes that they can use. I'm also kind of worried that they're spinning around the ones they already introduced.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the same issue as Star Wars, where it's like, okay, well, we have the Skywalkers.
We're
All right,
obsessed with them now.
Let's do the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. But I think it would be cool if, logically, I thought what would have been a good story since all the A-tier heroes more or less died.
Yeah.
Is if the villains just took over. Like, I feel like that writes itself. You know, you just have a bunch of, like, Kingpin takes over New York. Boom, done.
Wasn't there a like, at least a miniseries where, like, the villains formed their own Avengers, like the Dark Avengers or something?
Yeah, I can't. It wasn't, the Dark Avengers were, like, kind of like the Thunderbolts-ish, but, like, there was something where, like, the villains essentially took over.
Yeah.
Or I would kill for, I forget what the Hulk story is called now, but when Hulk just went on a rampage and was like, I'm just going to kill all the heroes. YOLO.
Yeah. That's the movie we need. Hulk YOLO.
But I do like the direction they went with the Hulk. I like smart. Like when both of them are
together.
Yeah.
I
was trying to think of a better word than together. So, but
I guess we'll see where things go because we're still deep in phase 4 right now with She-Hulk and the Marvels and some other stuff still yet to come.
Yeah.
And no date yet set for when Blade happens, and I'm sad.
It's probably going to come out with the next Spider-Verse movie.
Maybe. So anyway, Ms. Marvel's worth watching once.
Yeah,
it's
I liked it.
Better than some of them.
I'd give it an 8 purely based off of her performance in the first episode and last episode.
So, yeah. All right. Well, I'm Mike Finkelstein of Earth 625. Just so close to 616, but not quite.
Josh Schaefer plus.
Josh Schaefer. Is that your streaming network?
Yeah.
I'm Schaefer plus.
Schaefer plus. You know, watch me sit around, watch Disney Plus.
It's mostly just Leonard from Community, but you're doing pizza reviews.
The mouthfeel on this one's excellent.
Would buy again.
Would buy again.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.